Hey, Lit Set, it's Jasmine.
Hey, Lit Set, it's Nikea, and this is Black Girl Lit,
the podcast. We're a podcast now, guys.
Where Black girls are lit,
we get lit,
and we read lit.
This is Black Girl Lit, the podcast.
Hey, y'all, it's another episode of Black Girl Lit. So we're just going to get right into this thing. Y'all like our new intro? Let us know.
Please let us know. I had to have a whole script to do it. So. I'm a voice actor now. I can do voice work.
Okay, she's a voice actor, podcaster,
model,
baker, part-time rapper.
All around bad bitch. Okay.
Any Hoosers, as Jazz would say. All right, so this week's book is The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. This was Jasmine's pick. She actually picked this book a while ago, but we were reading like 1,000 books at one time, so we had to move it on to later seasons. Yes, we were reading like 4 books a month, probably. It was ridiculous.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep up. I was struggling. Yeah,
but you would read a book really fast, and then I would have to read it, and then I would read a book really fast. It was just crazy.
Very inconsistent.
Yeah, it was. But now we're on a schedule. But this is Jazz's pick. It is a mystery novel. So I'm going to go ahead and go into our About the Author segment. So Attica Locke, she is a writer and producer of Fox's Empire. And she also did some writing on the Netflix series When They See Us. So her website didn't have a lot of information about her. It was really just about her writing, not a lot of personal stuff, which I like to be nosy and know the personal stuff.
Right. But I want to know the tea, Attica. What's going
on? Right. Just like Candace. Like Candace Carty Williams, you know, we read that like her mom was
she was a love child.
Right, exactly. Okay. Anyway, so Attica, The Cutting Season was the winner of the Ernest Gaines Award for Literary Excellence. Her first novel, Blackwater Rising, was nominated for an Edgar Award, an NAACP Image Award, as well as a Los Angeles Times Book Prize, and was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. She was a fellow at the Sundance Institute Feature Filmmakers Lab. She works as a screenwriter as well, and we already talked about what she produced. And she's also working on the upcoming Hulu adaptation of Little Fires Everywhere. She is a native of Houston, Texas. Attica lives in Los Angeles, California with her husband and daughter. You know, shout out to Houston, Texas. You know what I'm saying? Meg Thee Stallion, Beyonce. You know, great Black women come out of Houston.
I want to move to Houston and become a stallion, but I mean, I'm too short, so I will be a pony. Jasmine the pony.
Hey, big old freak. Big booty, big old tree.
Oh my God. This is what happens when you pregame before you record. So Jazz is going to go on to our next segment where she flourishes and thrives, and that is the book synopsis.
The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. The Cutting Season is a mystery novel that takes place at Bellevue, which is a plantation in Ascension Parish, Louisiana. And our main character, Karen Gray, discovers the body of a immigrant worker named Inez, and she dubs herself a detective, I guess, essentially, to figure out what happened and who killed Inez. And within the plantation, there's also some sugarcane, and they are actually going through their cutting season where they're cutting the cane. Hence the name of the book, The Cutting Season. Let me just preface this side note by saying that when I picked the book, The Cutting Season, I thought that they were going to be like some self-cutting type thing, like some self-harm.
What?
I don't know why I thought that. This lets you know I did not read the synopsis when I picked this book. Because I needed the list. She was hounding me for my list of books, so I just
the lies.
I just picked a book. Anywho, there's so the story is about Karen. Karen has a 9-year-old daughter named Morgan. Karen runs the Bellevue plantation as like the event planner, groundskeeper, general manager, handling all things at the plantation. And she's just trying to figure out who killed Inez on this property and what's going to happen with her future. And it's just a mystery novel. So that is the synopsisizing of The Cutting Season. Thank you for joining me on this journey.
All right, now we're on to our next segment where we're just going to give our reactions to the novel, our just initial feelings, first thoughts, just, spit them out.
you go first.
All right. So, my reactions, super slow. Oh my goodness. I would read 4 pages and fall asleep.
Bruh.
This really helped with my insomnia. Overly detailed. Like,
Bruh.
describing every single thing. I was like, Attica, sis, we're highly intelligent, highly educated Black women. We got you. We understand. I wrote this. I could only read a few pages at a time. I also wrote that it made my skin crawl that Karen worked at and lived on a plantation.
Willingly.
And then they kept making references and using terms from like plantation period. And I'm like, this novel was set in like the early 2000s. So why are we still using these references? Like, no, we are no longer slaves. Like, no, formerly enslaved. Okay. Lastly, I have the constant reference to the actors as slaves and how they seemed happy about it. Like, she would use their roles and describe them, and I'm just like, ew, like, no, stop. Go ahead, Jess.
Okay, so let me get to my notes. So what I have first, extremely descriptive, getting lost in the details. Karen's relationship with her daughter seems to have a lot of resentment in it. In terms of like, and as I read the novel, I could kind of see where that was stemming from. I think the relationship with the father, but whatever. At 47%, I rage quit and I said, "Fuck this book," and I didn't want to read it. But then Nikea was like, "No, we gotta finish it," and I was like, "No, I don't want to read it. I'm going to the next book." But then Nikea was like, "No, let's just switch to audio," and I said, "Okay, whatever." So we switched to audio, and that's how we finished the book because I could not read that shit. Okay. Then I put, does Karen ever pay attention to her daughter and what her daughter be doing? Apparently not.
Huh?
What are you doing?
I'm making a drink.
Man, bro, I look up and Nikea is pouring straight Crown Apple into this glass. What is happening?
There is some Red Bull in here, okay?
She is starting straight bartender while I'm trying to talk. But yeah, anywho,
But
Karen,
you said she reminds you of who?
Karen Lee from Hollywood Homicide. Remember the private detective chick? She solves crimes like her.
Yes.
Be all wrong about who the suspect is.
But she was better. She was better than Kelly, though.
But
I will
because
say.
she had a better partner than Kelly with Owen. But yeah,
I'm turned up.
And I see. And then magniloquent.
What does it mean?
I didn't look it up. I just typed it in my phone. Hold on 1 second. Asquaciousness. You know what type of book we were reading. That word magniloquent, whatever, was in there. It means using a high flown or bombastic voice.
Okay, bombastic, Mr. Fantastic.
And obedient, attractive to an excessive servile degree.
Okay, all these big words in the definitions.
It's obsequious.
Okay, I remember that word. I was like, ooh, that sounds fancy.
Okay, anywho, those are my reactions to this book.
Yeah, so as y'all can tell, that's our little cheat code. We had to go to audiobook. Jazz was definitely further than me when she was like, I don't want to read this book. I'm done. Let's just move on to the next one and scrap it. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I just didn't want to give up on this book. Like, for some reason, I just wanted to know what it was about. And so, we used Libby. So on Libby, you can get books from your library. You can get audiobooks as well. And I was like, oh, shoot, I got it on audiobook. Let me test it out. And it actually sounds really good because the person who reads it, she did different voices for all of the characters. So that was our cheat code. We read, air quotes here, the book on audiobook. So don't kill us for not really actually reading. We partially read, but it was a struggle.
Again, just be happy that we finished the book because, again, without the audio reading, I wouldn't have finished this book at all. I rage quit.
I know. I didn't think she was going to audio read it. And I was like, we'll just do this episode where I know about the book and Jazz is just bitching and complaining. And we could just do it that way. But Jazz, I kind of like forced her to listen to the audiobook.
Ended up like the Star Touch Queen for me. And if you know about season 1, Star Touch Queen, we finished that book. That book almost was in that category. So
maybe I should. I'm gonna try to find Star Touch Queen on audio and see how that is. Jazz is giving me all the black girl neck rolls and everything. All right, on to our next segment, and we're going to do major scenes and topics once Jazz puts the bottle down.
whoa, what it make me sound like an alcoholic? Okay, so major scenes and topics. So my major topics were the romanticizing of slavery in the antebellum South, and that was my only topic.
Why did you preface that like you were about to give me a whole list?
Because I thought I had a whole list, but it was actually just one.
Okay, so I have one topic too, so we'll just stick with that. So my topic is, I don't even know how to put it in just like one word, but my topic is the effects of slavery, like after the fact, like slavery PTSD, and how the effects of slavery are ingrained in all of Black people's DNA, especially those who are in America, and how we are generationally affected by the institution of slavery. So you want to expound on your topic first, sis?
The start of my whole feeling about the romanticizing of slavery in the antebellum South is the fact that this plantation was turned into an event venue where people were doing tours, which I can understand the tours. That's the important part. You want people to come and see the slave quarters and see what a plantation actually looked like and what was happening. But the fact that people were wanting to get married and have these galas and events at a plantation was like,
Right.
and honesty moment here for like a split second. So I'm like OCD crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I had looked at this venue one time, not because I was getting married, because I've never been engaged, but I had looked at this venue. I was like, because it was in New Orleans, and I was like, I want to get married in New Orleans. But then it looked like it was a plantation. So I was like, I can't do that.
Right.
So I'm like, dang, can't get married in a plantation? Like, I don't know. The whole thing. And then also just kind of going into that was like, Karen's weird love affair with the plantation. I don't know.
Her weird love affair with what?
The plantation, like her weird love affair with the plantation. It just,
but it was like love hate though.
It was. That's what I'm saying. It was like weird. It was weird. I couldn't understand it, but like, I don't know. I just didn't like it. And like Nikea said earlier in the podcast about how the actors who performed in like this stupid, the slaves say, my home ain't nowhere but Bellevue. I must live my life here as a free man on Bellevue because this is my home. That was annoying to me. Like I couldn't like. Now, granted, I'm saying it like that because that's how the lady on Audible read the book, but like, I just couldn't get past it. Like, and the fact that Karen willingly lived on a plantation, and she didn't even live in the big house. She lived in the library.
I didn't realize that till the end. I was like, I thought she lived in the house.
Right? No, she wasn't even in the big house.
Yeah, but to go back to your point of like having a love affair with Bellevue, she also had a secret crush on one of the owners, Bobby Clancy, which is why she had that back and forth love affair, and because she also thought that Bobby's daddy was her daddy because her mama was a hot mess. Anywho, was that all in your topic?
Those were all of my top. I only had one topic, so yes.
I said, was that all on your topic?
Oh yes, that was all on my topic.
She's trying to come for me, and I didn't even send for her.
I thought you sent for me when you mailed me that letter saying, "Hey, come for me."
1 point for Jazz. So my topic just has to do with, I feel like Black people in America, especially those who are descendants of slaves, which I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure probably like 97% of us are descendants of former slaves. So a lot of what happened in slave life and slave culture, I feel like is engraved in our DNA. And I feel like slavery can also be diagnosed as like a condition or the side effects of slavery, because our ancestors had to deal with being beaten. They didn't have enough clothes. They didn't have enough food. Because a lot of times in slave movies, you'll see that slaves have on pants, they have on shirts, they have on like full clothes, like scarves and all this stuff. No, ma'am. Like children were walking around naked. If you didn't work in the fields, you didn't need pants. You had like one outfit. You slept on the floor. People were separated from their families because they realized the power of unity and family. So they would often take away mothers from their children, fathers from their wives. They often they would allow slaves to get married and then separate them. So a lot of that behavior is like ingrained in the Black community's DNA, which thank God for this awakening that the Black community is having now, that we are trying to heal and be woke and get away from that. But I feel like we have to acknowledge that that is a part of who we are. And in this novel, I don't think I feel like this novel was written in like the 2010s, but it was set in the early 2000s because in the book Barack was either about to run for president or he was president. But I just feel like the book didn't acknowledge that enough. It kind of like skated over that, but I guess the focus of it was the mystery part of it and just discovering out, you know, what was really going on. Because like Karen, she had a lot of deep rooted issues that she needed to uncover. Her baby daddy had some issues that he needed to uncover because he was from Chicago. So, you know, I'm sure there was segregation in that area. There's racial issues as well, but in the Deep South, it's more embedded because this book was set in Louisiana. Louisiana.
Ascension Parish.
Yeah, so this book was set in Louisiana. So like in the South, it's more heavily rooted with the racism and the segregation and stuff like that. So he had a lot of issues to uncover, and there's just a lot of tension going on in the town that wasn't directly addressed. It was just indirectly addressed through the mystery part of it. But I do think that it can be an implied topic, the effects of slavery on future African American generations or descendants of slaves. That would be a good dissertation.
Ooh, that would be a good dissertation. Make that a dissertation.
Oh shit! I'm smart.
I mean, the eyes were not because I don't believe that you were smart. I think you were extremely smart. I was just confused in that moment. But no, that's very, very true. And then also, I just feel like, I don't know. I mean,
what are you grappling with? What's wrong? Questions that need answers.
So there's several things that I'm grappling with. First things first was this whole, so within the book, it's like a double murder. So there's a murder that takes place in present time during when Karen's telling the story and she finds the body of Inez. And there's also a murder back in a year when Jason dies. Well, Jason disappears.
So I forgot what year that was. It was 18 something.
1860. Yeah. After the Civil War. Jason was this descendant of, here's another piece of the whole thing that makes it weird. Karen's family were slaves at the plantation.
Oh yeah, that's freaky. So like
that was another level of like, why are you working there? Why are you living there?
Like, yeah, Jason was like her great grandfather, like 5 times great grandfather. Yeah,
it was really weird. But
I couldn't do it. Like the work, I know I'm getting paid, and she was getting paid a good coin because she was saving aside money and paid off all this stuff. But I could not work at the plantation where my family was slaves. I practically own that land since they worked all that. Give me my money. Where's my reparations?
Right. I was so confused. Like her whole love of the place was just so interesting to me. But yeah, so there's like a murder within the murder, and she's also trying to solve. So she's trying to solve Inez's murder, and then also figure out what happened to Jason. And it was just, I don't know. Oh, well, this could have gone in the reaction section, but I thought the book was going to go into several different like paths, and it didn't go. Like I thought she was going to discover that she was a Clancy. I thought that she was going to discover that somebody from the sugarcane company did the crime. I thought she was going to discover everything that I thought she was going to discover didn't happen.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure this. I was trying to figure it out ahead of time because it's like, that's what you do. It's like when you watch SVU, you try to figure out stuff ahead of time. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't place it. Like things were just turning and twisting so much. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird to me. It was weird. But I mean, I'm just stuck on the fact that it's a plantation. Like, people work there.
I understand it's like an important part of history, but I don't know. Like, I understand why they still keep them in their like historical landmarks, and I feel like that's important. But a lot of times, like those type of institutions, they tell one side of the story, and that's what I'm discussing with my African American literature class, is that there's a danger to a single story. When you only know one side, you don't get to know the full person or the full event that is going on. And I just want to mention, I'll put this in the show notes, but there's an article about an actor who portrays a slave at a plantation, and the plantation got a review, and it was from a white lady, and she was like, she enjoyed the visit, but she didn't like the fact that her tour guide or whoever was playing the slave was talking about all the negative stuff of slavery, how that really brought the trip down. And I'm like, Karen, Becky, slavery was a real thing. It happened, and it was bad. Like, it wasn't good. It was not good at all. Like, even though you have those happy-go-lucky coon and Famasa slaves, they wasn't happy. They were brainwashed, you know? But you getting mad because we telling the truth about the country when we've been learning about history from the white perspective all of our lives, and all of a sudden you get the black perspective and you mad? What, like, so we're not saying that you own slaves. Maybe some of your descendants did. We're not putting it on you. We just want you to open your eyes and realize that this thing happened, and that black people are trying to grapple with it, and so are white people. And we're trying to find a way to come together and heal from this thing. But because you want to be blind and ignorant, we can't.
Right.
And that's on period.
That's on periods. Periods. The fact that you are upset that you went to a plantation for a tour and then found out, oh my God, they had slaves at this plantation.
And they were treated poorly.
And they were treated terribly.
The fuck?
It's shocking to you, and you don't want to hear that. I am sorry that our history is so upsetting to you. How the fuck you think we feel, sis?
Hello. I don't even know where my family is from because of slavery. I don't know. You can trace back to your Irish and German roots, but where am I from? Am I from the Caribbean? Am I from the Dominican? Am I from Nigeria? Am I from Uganda? If I know.
Fuck if I know. And according to Ancestry.com, I'm from Cameroon as well as 9% English. So, you know.
You better be from Cameroon. And that's why you speak with the British accent sometimes.
You know. But no, seriously, I don't understand it. And then it's just the part that just really is hard for me to get is the fact that they're just in love with the antebellum stuff. Like, not too long ago, I rewatched Gone with the Wind, which, first of all, is 4 fucking hours long. Don't do shit that day, okay? If you're gonna watch Gone with the Wind, don't do shit that day. And like, just watching the book was written in 1925, I believe. The film was done in 1940 something, I think. And the way that they just kind of romanticize this plantation, the antebellum South, and like the even the Mammy character, which Hattie McDaniel, that's the first person of color to win an Oscar. Congratulations to her, R.I.P. sis. But her character was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I struggle. Like, I haven't gone to see the Harriet, and I struggle with stories about plantations and plantations. I just struggle with them. Like, I know they're important to tell, but I struggle.
Well, see, that's what I mean with like the single story, because we've seen it from one perspective for so long. And just to comment on Harriet without being any spoilers, I've seen Harriet, and you can watch. It didn't trigger me, because that's the same thing. Like, when I watched Selma, triggered. Like, honestly, after I watched Selma, I'm like, I hate white people. When they see us, triggered. Like, I hate white people. That's how I feel. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. Like, that's how I feel like right after I watched that movie. Disclaimer, I'm not saying that I hate white people. That's just the feeling that I get when I watch movies like that, or films or anything like that. Okay, so please don't drag me. But that's just that feeling that I get, like, why are you so hateful towards these people just because of their skin? But I will say, Harriet, I was not triggered at all. It's a Everybody should go see it. I'm gonna take my students to see it. Actually, I was gonna say, are we gonna do major scenes? Like I have some, but I feel like since this is a mystery, we don't want to give too much away.
Wait a second. What were my major scenes? The major scenes that I had were every other body. And then Karen finding out who her father was, and then having a and her mother and resenting her and her like resenting her mother for not wanting more than living her life on the plantation. Those were just my major scenes.
Okay. And one of my major scenes, I said without giving anything away, I guess all of mine give stuff away except for one. Like Karen and her baby daddy.
Eric.
Yeah. So I know their first encounter, did they consummate?
Oh, they consummated.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, it sounded.
It goes with them going upstairs into the bedroom, and then it cuts to a whole nother chapter with his
and the sheets are all messed up,
and him putting his clothes back on. So I inferred that they consummated.
And then the second time they went upstairs, but the book actually said, the narrator said they did not have sex. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah. So that was a thing. So all this murder mystery stuff was going on, and somehow Karen's daughter, Morgan, is tied up in this. So Karen calls Morgan's father. I won't call him baby daddy. Sorry. No offense to anyone. But Karen calls Morgan's father and is like, Eric, this is going on with Morgan. So Eric shows up. He's like, okay, Karen, what's going on? And he's staying with them in their little apartment and on the plantation.
And the library.
And so he starts to get involved with their lives, and they like reconnect and all this stuff. So they actually physically reconnect. So I was just like, "Ooh, Karen!" And he's engaged, by the way.
I was gonna say that you didn't drop the real tea, sis.
Yes, he's engaged, and there's something else, but I won't drop that tea yet. I was just like, "Ooh, sis, come on, we gotta do better.
Do better for yourself, boo. You out here acting like Queenie. You know what I'm saying?"
She is. She probably needs to go to Queenie's therapist.
She does.
She got some issues.
She needs a lot to unpack.
Yeah. What was your scene?
I already said my scenes.
Oh, did you want to go into more depth, or that was it? Jasmine gummy worms.
I mean, first of all, it's sour sketty. Okay.
Sour straws.
Sour sketty.
Oh, sour sketty. Okay. Blue sour sketty.
Sour sketty.
Oh, okay. Sour sketty. It really, y'all, the bag literally says sour sketty. It's made by Haribo.
No, I mean, Karen found a dead body. Oh, who dead body is this? And then and then Karen found out who real daddy is. Ooh, that's my daddy is. That's all I have for my scenes.
You get any sips? I didn't get any sips.
I didn't know no one wants to sip with us.
No one wants to sip. Y'all, so our next segment is sips. Jazz, what's the sips? You tell them.
We don't got none.
Oh, so sips is when we just petition feedback from the audience from any of the books that we've read or the one that we're currently discussing. You can give us questions, comments, concerns. You can send a little audio clip. You can type it up. You can DM us at blackgirllit_ on Instagram, or you can email us at blackgirllityt@gmail.com so that you can be included in this episode. We want this to be an engaging process. Y'all are a part of the Lit Set, the Black Girl Lit Book Club. So join in on the conversation with us on our novels. The last segment, the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to rate our book. Our rating system goes as follows. We have sober, which we are not.
No.
We have buzz.
Buzzy.
I'm a little buzzy. I'm sweating.
Buzzy.
Okay? And then we have tipsy.
Mm-hmm.
And then our top rating is going to be lit. You know, double entendre, a play on words, because Black Girl Lit, literature. And then lituation. Do you want to go first, Miss Willis?
I will, Mrs. McDuffie. Okay. So when I rage quit, this book was a sober. Okay. In my phone because I did not update it once I finished the book, but it was a sober when I rage quit. Okay. because I felt like if I don't finish the book, you get an automatic sober, like just on facts. But after finishing said book, I'm gonna give it a tipsy. That's me being generous.
I was gonna say, you sound very gracious.
That's me being very generous, and the reason why, and this is purely on the fact that there's not a lot of good Black mystery novels. So, and also it was a good story. Like it did have me sitting on the edge of my seat and had me wondering who committed the crime. I wanted to know. So that fact alone is the reason why I gave it a tipsy. Had it been a boring mystery, it would have been a buzzed. But because it kept me interested, I gave it a tipsy.
All right. My rating for this book is a buzzed tipsy. I didn't give it just one. I gave it a buzz for actual reading the novel because it's just so heavily detailed. But I gave it a tipsy because even though I started reading it and I was just like, it's boring, I wanted to know what happened. So that's what made me switch to the audiobook. And also the audiobook was well read. Like the narrator had accents for each person. She sounded different for the men, for the women, for Morgan, who is 9 years old. So she did a really good job at reading this novel. So I'll be sure to like put her name in our show notes and in our description. She did a good job. So that's what gave it a tipsy. And like Jazz said, we don't have a lot of Black mystery novels and, good ones. So if you all have any suggestions for Black mystery novels that we can read, definitely would enjoy that and would like to add those to our list because I do enjoy a good mystery suspense thriller.
Keep me on the edge of my seat, boo. And her name was Quincy Tyler Bernstein.
Okay, Jazz, with the facts. Come on, sis.
I just pulled up Audible on my phone.
That's good. But that's it for today, y'all. So our next books that we will be reading are...
The next books that we'll be reading, guys, are going to be 32 Candles by Arnessa T. Carter, which is actually the prequel for the book, The Awesome Girl's Guide to Dating Extraordinary Men, which we read in season 1. And then Kindred by Octavia E. Beller.
That's it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay Black Girl Lit.
Stay Black Girl Lit and read that lit and then get lit. And then send us some sips, please.
That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating and a top-notch review to get us to the top review page on iTunes. And be sure to follow us and listen on SoundCloud.